seem like they're doing. See if there is anything we could sometimes depend on what they're doing, whether they can revealing it on the two.
Wednesday, TSC is coming. See if I can they be present.
Well, apparently they can't hold people that you couldn't understand.
Joe said so he got back yet with Joe. Oh, so I was in the neighborhood.
Good evening. I call to order the New Kent County Board of Supervisors June 9th, 2025 meeting to order. This evening we have the Dr. Angela Bartlett with New Covenant Community Church to lead us in an invocation and pledge. Welcome, Ms. Bartlett.
Thank you. I am honored to be here tonight. Let us pray. Father God, my prayer tonight is that you will watch over this meeting and open the hearts and minds of those assembled here tonight to receive the business at hand and make sound and wise decisions for this great county of New Kent. We thank you, Lord, for all your blessings, all your power, and all your might. We ask you, Lord, that you receive this prayer in the name of our risen Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bartlett. And also, sorry I was out of town work. Thank you for organizing the day of prayer. I understand that was a wonderful event, and hopefully we can do it again next year. Ms. Watkins, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Evelyn?
Here.
Mr. Moyer?
Here.
Ms. Pearson? Here. Mr. Steers?
Here.
And Ms. Stewart? Here.
Again, welcome everyone this evening. Our first item is the consent agenda. Any concerns or comments? Mr. Moyer?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to approve the consent agenda for this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Moyer. Any other discussion? Ms. Watkins, poll the members, please.
Mr. Moyer?
Aye.
Ms. Pearson? Aye. Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Ms. Stewart? Aye. And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Next is the citizens' comment period. One person signed up. Come on up, Mr. Smith. Don't sit down yet. We got yeah. We're in a citizens' comment period. Welcome, Mr. Smith. I know you know the drill. Just state your name and address for the record, please, and you'll be given 3 minutes.
Yes, sir. Good evening, citizens of Newtown. My name is William Mark Smith. My address is 4240 Holly Fork Road, Barnesville, Virginia. Did I miss anything?
No, sir, you got it.
Well, try to be brief. I know I've been talking about a park in the Barnesville area. There's a place called McKinney Woods. It's vacant. The county owns the property. It's a large property. It would be nice. It also could be used for a voting precinct. And I noticed that at Pine Fork Park, the county has planned to spend more money there. I haven't seen anything about spending the money at McKinney Woods. Also, Senator Mark Warner had a town hall meeting in the Williamsburg area recently. He was speaking about housing. And there's several programs about housing in Virginia, and everything not $400,000. Housing under 200 or between 200 and 300,000. And people need a place to live. They don't like some of the words that people are using, but the word I use is comfortable and affordable or economical. And if Newkent is involved in programs in Richmond, Williamsburg, other areas that are doing these housing programs, I think Newkent need to get involved because a lot of people, a lot of jobs bringing more people and need somewhere to live. That's all I had. Thank you for listening. Psalm 19:14. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. No one else has signed up. I'll close the citizens' comment period. Next is the last residency administrator's report by Mr. Wynn.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Hathaway, Marshall Wynn with VDOT. For May, we had 182 work orders, completed 203, had 7 call-outs. Been doing regular maintenance activities, pothole and asphalt repairs, grading non-hard surface roads, ditching and shoulder work, pipe cleaning and repair, tree removal and cleanup, sign repairs. Completed the first cycle of primary and secondary mow, and have just sent a notice to proceed for the third specialty mow in the area that, within New Kent. Surface treatment schedules going to start around June 18th, and they're going to start on Pine Fork Road, Route 610. There's a few more in New Kent that they're going to do, and I'll try to send that schedule to you before I leave. As you said, this is my last board report. After 48 years, I'm retiring June 24th. I do want to let you know that interviews were done for my position, and a candidate was selected, and that candidate is Philip Frazier. So I think it'll be seamless, so it should be a good road ahead for y'all. Other than that, I don't have anything else, not unless you have any questions.
Mr. Moyer?
Just thanks. I'm not going to belabor anything that we have. We appreciate what you've done.
Ms. Pearson?
Hi. I've had a lot of residents contact me. They're very pleased about the textured road for 249. They say that they're not afraid to drive that road now because people don't come in their lane anymore. You can definitely feel it if you're going down the road. So really appreciate that. Also, I appreciate y'all setting up the Clark Road meeting, which is this Wednesday night at 5:30 here in the boardroom. And the postcards were sent out to all the people that qualify on Clark Road that are on the VDOT portion of it. So I appreciate your time and putting that together for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Steers?
Yes, Mr. Wynn. Congratulations, you've earned it. And I want you to go buy you a big sailboat and just sail off into the ocean. Like I said at our last meeting, and I truly meant it, we've been through several residency manager since I've been here, and you're by far the best we've ever had. You respond to our requests. You're so professional. You don't get upset. And the only thing I can say is I am so happy that Frazier will be taking your place, because he'll do just as good a job as you. But we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ms. Stewart?
Thank you again, Mr. Nguyen, and I'll save my list for Mr. Frazier. But I did want to let the citizens know the report a pothole tool on the website is extremely efficient. My number one constituent, aka my mom, reported a pothole, and it was filled the next day. Okay. So I encourage you to use that tool. But just thank you, Mr. Nguyen, for everything, helping me learn through my first 18 months here as a supervisor. I've really appreciated all of your patience with me and my many requests. So thank you, and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you.
Mr. Nguyen, I will say that, being in state agencies, everybody looks at the book and reads by it. And, I never called you unless I thought it was something important. And you always had a common sense approach to it. It wasn't by the book, and I appreciate that. I mean, I think we made the top story with the Food Line roundabout. That was a fiasco for over a year after 3 or 4 contractors, but you kept your cool way better than I did, and I appreciate that. And I just appreciate everything you've done for New Kent. I appreciate, I value, I consider you a friend. I could call you. We've been through a lot, I feel like. You've been the residency administrator for?
7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
But you were here before that. But I just appreciate all of what you've done for New Kent, for the board, and it really means a lot to me. And I know Philip is going to do a great job, and I enjoy working. We'll enjoy working with him as well into a more important role. But congratulations, Philip, on yours. So with that, on behalf of the board, I would like to present you some New Kent garb.
New Kent garb.
Take the picture, Philip. That's right.
Might as well do it upright.
Yeah.
Smile.
I think your front is better.
No, I'm good. Yeah, I'm joking. I'm good. Thank you.
All right, now we'll start our presentations. Mr. Hathaway, the Preston Hollow Land Exchange proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Before you this evening, you have a request from Preston Hollow to exchange property located at exit 211, the Talliesville exit, located within the Farms of New Kent planned unit development. The county currently owns 15 acres right at the interstate exit. On that 15 acres sits Fire Station number 5, as well as the New Kent Visitors Center. Both of those uses takes up approximately 3 acres of the 15-acre parcel. What Preston Hollow has requested is to exchange 5 acres of county-owned property towards the rear of our property, with property located adjacent, right in between the Visitor Center and Interstate 64. There's a 27-acre tract of land there. Preston Hollow recently purchased that property about a year ago and would like to swap about 5.9 acres of land for the 5 acres of land that we've currently own. The purpose of the swap really is just to shape up their property, which surrounds the 15 acres, for future development opportunities that could be discussed or brought before you at a future date. I would like to note that this land swap does not grant any additional permissions or housing opportunities, commercial opportunities. No new development opportunities would be granted to Preston Hollow as a result of this land swap. It is solely a land exchange. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have a lot, but I'll, Ms. Steers?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Is there anyone from Preston Hollow here tonight?
I don't believe so. No.
Well, I mean, to me, this is a major decision.
Well,
And I have lots of questions before I would even say yay or nay or whatever, but
and I'd also like to state, too, this evening, you're not being asked to approve the land swap. You're only being asked to hold a public hearing to get citizen input, and then you would take action at a future meeting. By state code, in order to dispose of public property, a public hearing is required. So tonight is a request only to proceed with the public hearing.
What's the benefit to New Kent on this deal right now? I mean, didn't they give us the 15 acres when we did in the last PUD? Then we kind of did some land swap with the fire station before.
Well, they originally gave us 5 acres when the PUD was originally approved for the visitor center. Doing a future amendment, additional land, 10 acres, was granted to the county
10 acres, okay. I knew it was
for a fire station. Yeah.
To me, just looking at it, that 5 acres of land is a lot more valuable. I mean, what the county owns is a lot more valuable than what they're willing to trade. I'm just, just looking at it, and I don't know what the value is going to be to swapping it. I mean, we're going to lose all of our bargaining tools once we agree to the swap, and we haven't, met with anyone. So I really would have concern about holding a public hearing until some board members have met. I don't know. Somebody might have discussed this land swap already with Preston Hollow. I don't know. But
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Pearson.
I will say that I and Mr. Hathaway and Mr. Moyer have spoken to the Greater Richmond YMCA, and we thought that this property would be a great place for a YMCA. Of course, we're just preliminarily talking to them, but they were very excited about its proximity to the interstate, especially, and the population around this piece of property. However, I understand everybody's concerns, and perhaps maybe the rest of the board would like to meet with the Y as well to get a feel for how serious they are about possibly bringing a YMCA to New Kent County. It would solve more than one issue. We have a swim team at the high school right now that travels quite a distance to practice for the swim team. It would be wonderful that if they could just come to the Y and do that instead. There's a lot of Parks and Rec benefits, a lot of senior benefits that we've talked about with them. Again, just preliminary discussions, but so I would think that, that would take a while to set up meetings with you all as well, so perhaps we talk about it again, maybe in August, whether we want to bring it to public hearing or not. And at that point, perhaps Preston Hollow might show up and answer all your questions. Thank you.
Ms. Stewart?
Let's see, Mr. Chair, do we have a signed agreement on our luxury grocery store yet?
To my knowledge, there is no agreement at this
I
point.
would be interested, Mr. Chair, in hearing this proposal to public hearing when we have that.
I mean, this is proposed, Mr. Hadley, just a proposal we saw. I mean, I think who knows that the 5 acres, I understand what this person's saying, but the 5 acre, potentially use the 5 acres we already have. And it looks like to me, Preston Hollow is squaring up. I mean, we all know what they're doing at the end of the day. I mean, let's just call the spade a spade. They're squaring it up so they can put more houses there. I mean, they showed it in these plans. So, and then they want us to open the PUD back. And, I want this, Preston, I want this place to be successful, but I kind of agree with Ms. Stewart. They haven't been upfront and open with us here lately. So it's kind of, I have some concerns before we move forward with the public hearing. Ms. Steers?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. In the conversations I had with Romero, he stated that they had met with the YMCA on a couple occasions to discuss having a pool built here in New Kent County, because I expressed to him I've been after Parks and Rec to get a pool for years. Anybody knows it. And, there's nowhere in this county that you can go and teach your kids how to swim, and we're surrounded by water. And he said that he had discussed it with them a couple of times, but that's why I can't believe there's no representative here to even tell us, what the purpose of wanting to swap the land. Is it to put in a YMCA, or is it for them to build more houses, And like several of the board members have mentioned, they've made several promises to us with an upscale grocery store that we still don't know what and exactly what it is. We all, I think, have a feeling what it is, but, supposedly it hasn't been announced yet. So I tend to just say, defer it. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Mr. Chair. We don't want Preston Hollow to do the deal with YMCA. We want to do the deal with YMCA. We don't have to open the PUD. Period.
Yeah, let me go back a little bit for the rest of the population. Mr. Hathaway and I reached out to the executive director and the development director of the YMCA at our intercity meeting in Greenville, South Carolina. We looked them up, and at that same time, they said, we've been looking for you today because they have that kind of interest in putting a Y in this spot. If I would, my take of this, if I would show them, and unfortunately the public doesn't see it, if I would show them Exhibit 1 or Exhibit 2 and what this land swap, if they want 2, which would be the land swap, I'd vote for it today. If they said, no, we could do it on 1, then we'll talk about that for another day. But we're meeting with them on Wednesday, and I'm sure this will be part of our conversation. So I have no problem with what is asked for in the motion to delay the public meeting to August 11th. Not July 11th as it says, but to August 11th. Just my thought. And this has no influence, no bearing on Preston Hollow to me. This is about the why. This isn't about anything else.
Mr. Chair, I'm saying defer it, period, and not put a date on it until you all have a chance to meet with Y.
Yeah. I think all of us up here would support a Y. And, if we swap it, the land, I think Preston Hollow, they might not want to build it, but if we swap land, maybe they could help some type of finance land before we swap. Our negotiating is done once we swap the land. So we have to keep the land to negotiate. That's the way I do business.
Do we need a motion for the deferral?
Yes.
Yes. Well, you can choose to take no action, and you can bring this back up later.
All right. So we'll talk about this later. All right. And our next item this evening is Resolution R-21-25, committing local funding for the I-64 Exit 211 Divergent Diamond Interchange Improvement Project.
Great.
Ms. Inneman.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Hathaway. I am very pleased to be here this evening to provide you with information as it relates to this resolution. As you know, over the last 2.5 years, we've been working very diligently with our project partners, the Commonwealth of Virginia, VDOT, Buc-ee's, and Federal Highway to advance the project development of the diverging diamond at the I-64 Exit 211 interchange. And we've also submitted and successfully received $18.3 million from the Central Virginia Transportation Authority that we have used to leverage our Smart Scale application that we also submitted to fund the project. We were recently notified that we have been recommended in Smart Scale for an additional $18.2 million, bringing us to $36.5. We had previously committed $10 million to the project using our CBTA local funding. However, in having ongoing conversations with the Commonwealth and our project partners, it became apparent that it would be helpful if we could increase our local commitment from $10 million to $20 million. With that, bringing us to $56.5 million towards the project opens up new opportunities with our project partners to go from interim and then a full build project development to and actually build the project all at once. So this really would help us in terms of advancing the project in a near term, not having the complexity of going from an interim configuration to an ultimate diverging diamond. It also, has become apparent not only with the Buc-ee's development, but everything that's going on with economic development at the New Kent City Center, all of the warehouse distribution, working with the port, et cetera, makes this project not only a nice to have, but critical for New Kent County as well as the Commonwealth. So if you are all to approve this tonight, we will continue to work with our project partners at the state to continue to identify the additional $37.5 million. And we are in active conversation as it relates to those commitments. So I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Ms. Stewart?
What is the total county commitment?
So the total would be $20 million. Yes, and I failed to mention that the total project cost, if we build it all at once, is $94 million. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Chair, I just wanted to recognize Ms. Inman for her hard work on this. I know she and I had several conversations about this, and I just really appreciate the diligence that you have put towards this project. It's really, your effort is really paying off for the benefit of the county. So thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, Supervisor. Yes.
Anyone else?
Mm-hmm. And if I could just also...
And exactly where is the county going to get this $20 million?
Yes, sir. Great question. Yes, great question. So we currently have $10 million of our CBTA local funding. And so we will work with the Commonwealth, and we would be relying most likely, we'll have to work with our finance director on using our additional CBTA local funding that we receive. So once we know what the different funding sources are all coming together, how they're coming together, we'll look at that cash flow. And, most likely the funding, the additional $10 million would come towards the end of the project. But we would work with Mr. Hathaway and our finance director on exactly what that might look like. And there may be other potential scenarios that we might be able to come up with the additional $10 million.
And if I'm not mistaken, the additional $10 million, we have approximately 5 years to reach that
Correct.
total. We receive about $2.5 million per year in CVTA funds. The acronyms are all running together. And CVTA funds. So we do have a source for the additional $10 million. We're also exploring the option of potentially bonding and using our annual revenue of CVTA to pay that bond off, which would allow us, it would give us some funding to move some other projects forward. And we wouldn't have to wait till after that 5-year period to move other projects forward and address other needs in the county.
Mr. Moore?
Mr. Inman, it would be remiss if I hadn't also thanked you for all you've done. I've seen you at all the CVTA, all the RTPOs. We've been in meetings with Secretary of Transportation and that, and I know how you've gone after this as whether it was your money was being spent and also the benefit of what we will get from this. The amount of funds that will be recouped from this project will be very quick once the Buc-ee's comes in, once Target is online. This will not be something that we have to wait for 20, 30 years for it to get. So I appreciate your effort.
Yes, thank you. And I would also like to very much thank everyone here for your support of this project, as well as the Secretary of Transportation, our Commonwealth Transportation Board member, Mr. Rex Davis, has been really wonderful, as well as the Deputy Secretary, John Lawson, and the CFO of VDOT, Laura Farmer. So I would be remiss if I didn't also thank them. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I know I concur with what my fellow board members have said, and it was nice to see that article in BizSense, and everybody thought the Buc-ee's wasn't coming, and then I affirm, I've heard that, like, Buc-ee's not coming, so I just forwarded that email to them. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Yep, Ms. Pearson.
Okay. I move to adopt Resolution R-21-25, committing local funding for the I-64 Exit 211 Diverging Diamond Interchange Improvement Project.
Thank you, Ms. Pearson. Any other discussion? Ms. Watkins, poll the members, please.
Ms. Pearson?
Aye.
Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Ms. Stewart?
Aye.
Mr. Moyer?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Motion passes. All right, it's after 6:30, so we have 3 public hearings this evening. First public hearing this evening is Ace Flight Solutions, LLC lease. Our airport manager, Mr. Dwayne Goss.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Hathaway. Hope you're all doing well tonight. I'd like to request tonight your consideration of a motion to support a 4-year lease with 1-year renewals for office space and maintenance hangar space at the county airport to support aircraft maintenance services. Ace Flight Solutions, LLC, is owned and operated by Mr. Andrew Gordon, who is present tonight. He drove down from Stafford to say hello to everyone. His current operation has been established for in excess of 6 years at Stafford Airport, and he's approaching a 1-year anniversary at Louisa Airport. His goal is to support the county airport tenants as well as transient aircraft owners, and he aspires to corner the general aviation market east of Richmond, contributing to the economic growth of the county. For that reason, I'd like to request your concurrence allowing Mr. Hathaway to endorse such a lease request. And as I say, Mr. Gordon is with us tonight, and he'd like to say hello if you may. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, Mr. Goss. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, board members. Appreciate this opportunity. I first want to say thank you to Mr. Goss here, who has well represented the county. He's been very solicitous, very generous in his communication, forthright throughout this process, and we wouldn't be even close to where we are in progress-wise if it wasn't for him. So he represents you all well. My focus here tonight is to, one, answer any questions that you may have, and to two, tell you just very briefly a bit about my company. I started the company in 2019 with a request from the County of Stafford. I have since worked through numerous expansion projects at Stafford County, hand in hand with both the EDA there and the Board of Supervisors. Since then, we started our second position at Louisa County, again working hand in hand with a request from the county to provide maintenance services. So this is a little bit old hat for me now. I'm starting to feel pretty comfortable in these shoes. We as a company have also focused on community outreach. I'm a past-serving president and a current member of the Stafford County Rotary Club, and we hold numerous projects of community outreach at Stafford Airport. We're also well-focused on the community college system, VCCS. We're building a training program right now with Germanna Community College, but that will be able to be expanded to any other VCCS colleges in the state. The purpose of that is to help train young people from late high school age all the way through the community college system to get them their airframe and power plant certificate to become maintenance providers for aircraft. We've also very proud to say that 60% of my workforce throughout the company is under the age of 30, and 70% are female. So we try to give good opportunities to any young person that expresses an interest. I'm very excited to join the New Kent family and, again, be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? I think we're good. Mr. Moyer.
Say this goes through. Okay,
Yes.
just say it goes through.
On the off chance.
I would love to see what your plans would be for not just the airport, but around the airport and what can be done in that area.
Yes, sir.
In watching what Hanover has done with their air park, I know with Stafford, I don't know about Louisa's, but I know it's an economic machine that, putters, but maybe we could get it running a little smoother. But so we appreciate, that. And, if we got a flight school to that, it would be really nice,
Coincidentally,
Okay.
Mr. Moyer,
I haven't talked to him, okay?
I have 3 other very good partners. I'm going to be a maintenance providing partner in this venture, but we're just about, I believe, this month, we will start operations for our first branch of Ace Flight Academy at Stafford Airport. We will have 5 aircraft there for flight training purposes initially, and we would be very, very interested in expanding that operation here as well, 1. 2, we have partnered with the Louisa County Public School System to start the process of building a technical education center right at the Louisa County Airport. So we are absolutely hand in hand with your impetus there. Yes, sir.
Well, I'll open public hearing. Has anyone signed up? I'll close the public hearing. Mr. Hefty, I assume you've reviewed the lease.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I've reviewed the lease. It's a 1-year lease term with 3 1-year renewals optional.
Pretty good price. Pretty good price there. I understand. I mean, that's good. I'm glad you're going to be there. I assume. But let me entertain a motion first.
Mr. Chair, I approve and authorize the county administrator to sign the Ace Flight Solutions LLC lease for aircraft maintenance at the New Kent County Airport.
Thank you, Ms. Moyer. Any other discussion? Ms. Watkins, poll the members.
Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Ms. Stewart?
Aye.
Mr. Moyer?
Aye.
Ms. Pearson?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Congratulations. Best of luck, and look forward to coming out there and seeing what you're doing.
Thank you very much. We plan to host a kind of an open house thing as soon as we can get on our feet, so you'll all be invited.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and board members, thank you very much for your time tonight. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Second public hearing this evening is the New Kent County 2045 Comprehensive Plan Update, Ordinance O-02-25. Principal Planner Patrick Silva. Mr. Silva.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Mr. Hathaway. Good evening. Again, my name is Patrick Silva, Principal Planner with the Department of Community Development's Planning Team. And before I turn things over tonight to Todd Gordon from EPR to give a formal presentation on the comp plan update, I did want to first provide a sort of brief introduction to the item that you will be considering this evening. So first and foremost, I would be remiss if I did not highlight that the fact that in bringing this proposed update forward for its final consideration by you all this evening, the county is taking a very exciting step forward and is able to only do this as a result of sustained efforts of countless stakeholders, both individual county residents and organizations, as well as the result of continuous professional and public collaboration over a period of almost 3 years from fall 2021 to the present. So the comprehensive plan update you all will be considering this evening represents the distillation of a number of professional studies, data analysis, and citizen feedback received that, when considered as a whole, paints the picture of a widely held desire of the residents of New Kent County to balance the prioritization of maintaining the county's attractive rural character while also providing opportunities for economic development and well-managed growth. I feel confident in saying that staff finds that the plan before you this evening captures those concepts clearly and creates a roadmap for the future of New Kent that its residents can get behind. So I would also like to extend a special thanks to Todd Gordon and the consulting team from EPR, who are invaluable in the process of analysis with respect to the comp plan and all its different topic areas, as well as the creation of the plan document itself. To the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee members, some of which are here this evening, whose leadership and feedback throughout the update process was critical in crafting the plan before you this evening. And as well, most importantly perhaps, to all the residents of New Kent County who put their time and care into the consideration of and provided feedback on the plan during the extensive public outreach process. So without further ado, I'll turn the mic over to Todd Gordon from EPR, who will provide a more formal overview of the comprehensive plan update.
Great. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Hathaway, I'm Todd Gordon, Principal Planner at EPR. And our role has been over the course of this project to work with county staff and the appointed steering committee to write a plan that helps position New Kent for a successful future. We're very happy to be at this stage where the steering committee, the planning commission have forwarded this plan and recommended its approval. I will echo what Mr. Silva said in thanking, we have a huge thanks to members of this community who helped guide the plan, particularly the Plan Steering Committee, which was appointed by the Board of Supervisors at the beginning of this project to guide this work. Some of them are present. The Steering Committee met regularly to help plan and promote public meetings, to work out proposed solutions, review draft plan elements, and edit the final document. We also owe a great deal of thanks to the county staff, including Mr. Aragi, Mr. Silva, Mr. Hathaway, Ms. Inman, and many others, including some staff, like Mr. Smolnick, who's moved on to other employment, but was very useful in this process. Staff from just about every county department participated in the construction of this plan in some fashion. We had the opportunity to update the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors at least twice during this process, but for the benefit of the public, a little bit of background information. The comprehensive plan is required by Virginia law for all cities, counties, and towns to guide the physical development of their community over the course of the coming years. The county's comprehensive plan was last fully updated in 2012 with minor updates since. And the comprehensive plan makes up one element of the many things that you all look to as guides to the future. Also very important to mention that the county adopted a strategic plan in 2021, which contains a vision and goals for the county's future. That plan is very much used as a foundation for the construction of this plan. The growth of New Kent is certainly no news to any of you. But projections are, if we look to the Weldon Cooper Center at the University of Virginia, the state's official demographer, a New Kent population of 36,000 by the year 2050, which represents continued growth. And that means that the comprehensive plan needs to take into account the requirements of that growth, including new homes, parks, roads, schools, fire and rescue, and many more. From the start of this, public input was a very important cornerstone to this project. We conducted 3 phases of public engagement throughout the planning process, starting with an open house and community survey in phase 1. In the second phase, we held 3 meetings throughout the county, spread geographically throughout the county, where people could provide us input directly on maps about land use and transportation. We also had online versions of that for those who couldn't join us in person. In phase 3, we presented draft plans to the public and received their input. Overall, everyone worked very hard to publicize these opportunities, including members of the steering committee who handed out flyers and other things. We mailed postcards to every mailbox in the county to encourage people to come and participate, and they did. The turnout for those meetings was really excellent. The plan itself is organized in 10 chapters, and these cover what you'll typically find in comprehensive plans: information about demographics, economy, housing, natural resources, utilities, public facilities, including parks and schools and others, transportation, land use, and implementation. In this case, we have an appendix that provides additional mapping, the future land use matrix, which I'll explain, which is a very important component, maps of proposed transportation projects, and review of VDOT's 6-year improvement plan is also in the appendix. All right, so each chapter follows the same format. First part of each chapter is public input. So, for example, on the topic of economy, what did the public have to say? So we start with that for every chapter. Each chapter also contains various data, information, and analysis on the chapter topic. Each chapter contains goals, and these goals come directly from the Envision New Kent Strategic Plan adopted in 2021. And then each chapter builds on those goals with individual tactics. These are the individual actions that need to be taken in order to move the county toward its goals. Each chapter finally contains metrics, and that is, how are we going to measure whether we're achieving our goals? And so some of the metrics include economy. So, for example, the proportion of tax revenue that comes from residential providers versus commercial tax revenue. The total amount of sidewalks in the county. The total amount of land in conservation easements, for example. These are all metrics that we can measure in the future to see how the county is progressing. Also contained in the plan is the tactics matrix, which explains those individual actions in greater detail, including who's in charge. For example, which county department would be the lead for that particular initiative. The term of that, so short, medium, or long term, and we've made an effort to include both short-term items and very long-term items. Also, a general assessment of the cost of this item and resources that may be necessary, whether that's staff time, additional funding, the services of additional consultants, et cetera. One of the most important parts of the comprehensive plan, in any comprehensive plan, is the future land use map. So again, this is a map that divides the county into areas based on the type of development that would be appropriate in their future, from environmental conservation to industrial development. We worked directly with the public and to incorporate their input. So this is a map of the public's thoughts on future land use, which we collected at various meetings. The proposed future land use map looks like this. And you will notice that this map is not drastically different from the map that's been used in the past. The general ethic of planning in New Kent for quite a few years has been that there are appropriate places for development and there are inappropriate places for development, and that the county is is accepting of certain types of development that benefit the county and that are located in the right places, many of those being along Interstate 64 and near its interchanges, and where public water and sewer service is available to serve them. And that the county, along its rivers and in its rural areas, should be conserved over the long term. The map divides the county into 9 place types. So there are 9 categories, 9 colors on that future land use map. They are described, this is a table of their proportion. So you can see that the rural category is almost 58%, the agriculture and forestal segment 13%, et cetera. The plan contains this chart, which is very difficult to see at this scale, but this describes in detail each of those 9 categories and the type of development that the county feels would be appropriate in those areas. So that includes the intent of each area, what uses are welcome, the density goal for that area, the type of building character, and so on. And so those are all, these are the categories that are all included in that map. Those categories, here is an example of the guidance that's given for the village category. And the village category applies to where we are now, as well as Providence Forge, Bottoms Bridge. All right. There is a map here that shows a summary of changes. And so all of the parcels that have black dashed lines around them are changes from the previous version of the comprehensive plan. And changes were made for different reasons. Changes were made to bring this map in line with what exists. So if residential has happened, then we need to acknowledge that in the future this parcel will continue to be residential. This map was updated based on the current provision of water and sewer service in the county. And a lot of discussion was had with the steering committee about the particulars of moving one parcel from a category to another. Also, a very, very important topic in any comprehensive plan is transportation. This plan maps transportation projects, recommended transportation projects that are drawn from regional plans, from the work of the local board of road viewers, from VDOT's 6-year improvement plan, and so on. They are mapped here, both road projects and bicycle or pedestrian-related projects. Those transportation projects are listed in greater detail in the appendix as to their location, how they interact with the state's statewide transportation guidance, whether they are located in areas that the future land use map recommends for development. This plan also acknowledges something, and that is that the vast majority of future roads that the county receives will not likely be VDOT projects, but will come along as a result of development. And so this plan includes model development sections, road sections, that give a sense to the potential development community of the type of roadways that the county wants to see. That is quality roadways with appropriate landscaping, with pedestrian facilities where necessary. That brings us to the end. Again, we're grateful to the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee and to staff for their assistance in this plan. We acknowledge, we know that the comprehensive plan is a guidance document. It doesn't hold the weight of law the way many other things do, but it's meant to be a guide that helps Planning Commission, that helps staff, that helps the Board of Supervisors put a long-term lens on the little things that come before you, development proposals, road projects, et cetera. And so we're very happy to bring this plan to you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Ms. Stewart? Ms. Stewart?
Under the public input section where it says social pinpoint comment, is that the online survey?
It was. So when we did in-person meetings, for each in-person meeting, we also had a virtual component. Those were done through a system called Social Pinpoint, which allows people to stick a pin in a map, provide comments. And so the idea was to give people every opportunity to participate.
Thank you.
You okay? Mr. Steers, do you have some?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Like you just said that the comprehensive plan is not law. It's just a suggestion on where the county should put in certain facilities and neighborhoods, that kind of thing. But it's not law, right?
Correct. It's a guidance document. It's meant to be strategic in nature. And many other things that you do, for example, changes you make to the zoning ordinance would be, the legal armature that helps enforce the comprehensive plan or point the county in the direction. But it's true. But it is a guidance document.
And the state requires the localities to have a review update every 5 years. Why are we going out 20 years?
So the plan is structured to 2045. That is that it looks 20 years into the future. So population projections, we projected 20 years into the future. But yes, comprehensive plan typically considers issues that might be 20 years in the future. But yes, state law does require that you review the plan every 5 years to see if it needs any updates.
Okay. And then on slide 68, it states that multimodal project focused on increasing pedestrian and cyclist accessibility through sidewalk expansions, shared use paths, and streetscape improvements, particularly in the areas like Providence Forge and along major routes such as 60 and 33. I can't see sidewalks in Providence Forge.
Providence Forge is one of the designated villages, one of the designated development areas for the county. And so if it does develop with housing at a reasonable density as well as commercial, then there may be call for, it may be reasonable to have sidewalks to allow people to move between those things.
And then if it's deemed necessary to have sidewalks, who pays for that?
So your zoning ordinance, your road design requirements would decide if developers need to provide sidewalks for a particular project or they don't. And so in many cases, you've required developers to install sidewalks in some of your planned developments. And so that's a decision to be made, a detailed decision to be made at the time of those applications.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Anybody else? And I open the public hearings. Anyone signed up? No one signed up? Well, I'd just like to thank staff. I know we've put a lot of time into this. I appreciate all the input the public had on this. I know it was a long process, but I don't think it changed a whole lot. It was a lot of update. I mean, I think we had a pretty good plan, but I think this is every 10 years you have to do a major update. Is that correct?
It has to be reviewed every 5 years to determine if an update is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're never actually required to update the plan, but you're required to review and check if it needs it.
Right. I appreciate it. Well, it's a good guide for us, and thanks for everybody that put some time and effort into this.
I should make a motion versus Ms. Pearson.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve ordinance O-02-25.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Any other discussion? Ms. Watkins, poll the members.
Ms. Stewart?
Aye.
Mr. Moyer?
Aye.
Ms. Pearson?
Aye.
Mr. Steers?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Motion passed. Our last public hearing this evening is the Board of Supervisors will consider proposed changes to the New Kent County Code regulations governing accessory structures and the Board of Zoning Appeals process. Ordinance O-03-25. Zoning Administrator Angela Leflet. How are you?
Yes.
Welcome.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Hathaway, thank you for having me here tonight. As you mentioned, my name is Angela Lefflet, the zoning administrator for New Kent County. The proposed amendments have incorporated feedback received over the course of the last several months from both planning commissioners, AFD advisory committee members, as well as citizen input regarding the current constraints of the ordinance regarding square footage limits for accessory structures. Staff feels confident that the updated amendments, while a deregulation from what is currently adopted, still provides a solid framework for the future. While the amendment affects the county's zoning text, it's important to note that staff has done their best to consider the comprehensive impact of the proposed changes. We have seen and heard the need for larger accessory structure allowance while preserving exemptions for certain farming operations, but we also recognize that more structures and impervious surfaces change stormwater runoff characteristics. Staff maintains that a limit to the allowable accessory structure square footage is needed to protect both adjacent properties and downstream waterways. So the presentation tonight is in two parts. The first part will address the changes for the accessory structure section of the ordinance, and then we'll move on to the Board of Zoning Appeals section. So starting with the accessory buildings and uses, this came about shortly after I had started here in New Kent County, which was last fall. Reading the ordinance, it's not very clear, and we'll see as I start to show what the ordinance looks like, that when you read it from an outsider's perspective, it reads as though, for example, in the A1 zoning district, that you can have several 3,000 square foot structures, whereas there's been a long-standing zoning interpretation that it's the total square footage of all your detached accessory structures. So it's not very clear. There's also interpretations regarding what are considered structures, and then porches and lean-tos are considered in that square footage. So the hope is, one, to increase the allowance for our residents, make the ordinance a little bit clearer so that those who are reading the ordinance when they're preparing for permitting for any structures that they would like to have, that it's clear for them when making those plans and moving forward with any permits. So the proposed changes would be to amend the definition of accessory building, which is going to include the word structure, as well as identifying some of the most common types of structures that we see come through our permitting office. And then add a definition for accessory dwelling units. We currently do not have one in the ordinance. Increase the allowed limit for accessory buildings for lot zone residential and A1. So those lot zone residential, think of those zones that start with R, so R1s, R2s, and so on. And then to codify some long-standing interpretations so that it's clear for our citizens as well as contractors when reading the ordinance what would apply to these regulations. So the proposed amendment, the first portion is the definition. So as you can see here, we're adding structure. We're leaving the majority of the definition the same for accessory building. And then we're adding those types of structures that we commonly see, which include but are not limited to carports, garages, sheds, and so on. And then adding an accessory dwelling unit, which is a secondary living unit to a single-family detached dwelling that has a separate kitchen, bathroom, and sleeping area, existing either within the same structure or in a detached structure on the same lot as the primary dwelling. So the current ordinance, as I had mentioned earlier, when you're reading Chapter 98, Article 1, Section 9810C3, as you read through it, you can see about the fourth line down, it starts with living, provided such structure does not exceed 50% of the total floor area for the primary structure. That's for our residentially zoned properties, those are zone properties. And then the last sentence, when it refers to the A1 zoning district, such structure may total 3,000 square feet. When you read this, again, you think, oh, I can have a 3,000 square foot garage, and now I can have a 3,000 square foot workshop. So we just want to make sure that it's clear for everybody that it's the cumulative total and not per structure. So looking at some surrounding localities, there's about 9 here that we looked at. 4 of them do not regulate accessory structures on those agricultural zone properties or at all. And then the remainder of them have a percentage. The one that staff liked was King and Queen, where they have 30% of the lot area past the front yard setback. So for A1 for New Kent County, the front yard setback is 75 feet. We liked that because it encompasses the side yards and the rear yards rather than just leaving it to the rear yard only. So that is what we went with moving forward. When running the number, and I'll have a couple of examples of what does this number look like on these larger lots, we felt that 5% was good. It was a good number. You're thinking about a quarter of an acre once you get to the 10,000 square feet, as we'll see here later. So the proposed amendment, the changes are in red. So on part 3, accessory buildings as defined in the ordinance. So rather than list them out here as they are now, we're directing you back to the definition of accessory buildings and structures. Customarily associated with residential living, the cumulative total of all detached accessory structures may not exceed 60% of the total floor area for the primary structure and, primary structure. I'm sorry, I just kept going. I do want to stop there. So this 60% here came about thinking about our older homes in the community that don't have attached garages, especially the smaller homes. One of the properties that I was working on, just for an example, was a 1,400 square foot home. They already had 2 sheds that were just under 256 square feet. So when I consider the 50%, the way the ordinance reads, they're only limited to 700 square feet of detached accessory structures. When you think about adding a 2-car detached garage, then typically those are about over 600 square feet. They're already out of the opportunity to have that detached garage. Just adding 10% more would allow these structures to remain, as well as a conservative 2-car detached garage. Additionally, they could attach it to the home, but some of these smaller lots start running into setback issues, which would push them forward to the Board of Zoning Appeals for variance request. So moving to more of the larger chunk of the ordinance amendment for our A1 zoning district. In the agricultural A1 zoning district, such structures may total, so now we're going to take out that 3,000 square feet and add up to 5% of the lot area beyond the front setback line, but may not exceed a cumulative total of 10,000 square feet, whichever is less. The total square footage includes, but is not limited to, roof structures, as we can see here, attached or detached gazebos, porches, and lean-tos. Again, this portion is also a long-standing zoning interpretation that those covered porches and lean-tos on our accessory buildings also count towards that square footage. So getting some feedback from our farming community as well as AFD and citizens, the request was to have an exemption for our farming operations, to not have the structure limit due to the nature of their business needing extra buildings for barns, silos, just to keep animals separate, feed separate, and chemicals separate. So staff included an exemption for buildings and structures accessory to a farm use as defined in the Code of Virginia, are hereby exempt from the provisions listed above in Section 9810C3. And then as farm is defined in the Code of Virginia as having one or more areas of land for production, cultivation, growing, harvesting, and producing or processing of agricultural products. And then such activities can be proven through farming licenses, active licenses, AFD registration, and any other similar documentation that staff feels sufficiently documents an active farm operation. So this will help separate the farming operations that are happening on our A1 properties from our single-family uses just for your everyday enjoyment of your property. We'll still have those limits for those, but if you can show the farming process, then we'll have that exemption. So the next 4 slides are just going to be some examples on what does this look like when we apply the ordinance. So this lot here is a 15-acre parcel. The parcel is outlined in yellow. The front setback is shown, let's see if I can get the mouse to show. So going from this property line in 75 feet, that would be right where we would start. What is that square footage of the rest of the lot? As you can see, the area highlighted is over 500,000 square feet. So 5% would be a little over 29,000 square feet. So they would be capped at 10,000 square feet. How they do the arrangement of structures is, as long as they aren't exceeding the allowance, is up to them. But this is just kind of show you can either do 5 structures, you can have one larger structure. So that's an example here. Looking at a 5-acre parcel, again at 5 acres, once we factor in the front setback and then the rest of the square footage of the property, they would be maxed out at 10,000 square feet. Looking at some smaller examples, we've got a 3.24 acre lot. So their 5% is 1,858.4 square feet. So that's what they would be maxed out at. They wouldn't have that 10,000 square foot limit, because then once you factor in setbacks as well, it gets pretty tight. And just to make note, we would factor in setbacks as well as here. Although this picture shows one of the structures pretty close to the property line, that's an existing structure. We would not force that one to come into compliance. It would be new structures. And then finally, the last example is a lot smaller lot at 0.36 acres. Their 5% is 416.5 square feet. That's what they'd be allowed to have. Again, whatever configuration they have, as long as setbacks are met and they don't exceed what the ordinance allows. So then two other additional parts that I wanted to highlight here. We've had several questions. Could a home occupation be in a detached accessory structure? And staff, in conjunction with the building official, determined that as long as that structure is constructed for human habitation or occupancy, then yes, you could have a home occupation in a detached structure. But if you're going, say, to a big box retail store and buying a shed off the parking lot, those aren't constructed to be meant for human occupation or human occupancy. So we would just look with the building official to make sure that the structure they're trying to occupy for any home occupations is up to building code. And then finally, I get a lot of questions on whether or not pools, private boat docks, piers, or boathouses would count towards the square footage, and it does not. So that's just codifying that here in this language so it's clear for those reading the ordinance. So just to recap, we're requesting to increase the allowed limit for accessory buildings for lots zoned residential from 50 to 60%, increasing the allowed limit for accessory buildings for lots zoned A1 of 5% of the lot area past the front setback line or 10,000 square feet, whichever is less, and then codifying some longstanding zoning interpretations. So moving on to the Board of Zoning Appeals, this is a lot shorter. So the proposed updates would be to align the ordinance with the Code of Virginia, clearing up some discrepancies between local regulations and state law. We're amending the current variance definition to align with the Code of Virginia. We're removing the special exception process. Special exceptions are typically for uses of a property. Variances more so are for reductions, whether in setbacks or increases in square footage. And special exceptions, we go through the conditional use permit process, which you all hear and make decisions on and vote on. So to keep confusion out for those applying for Board of Zoning Appeals matters, we're going to remove the special exceptions so that we keep those uses coming to the Board of Supervisors. And then finally, we're amending the administrative modification process to create clear guidelines between what qualifies for an administrative modification and what needs to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals for a vote for a variance. The administrative modification currently would come through the zoning administrator, and then they would determine, does it meet the criteria? If so, notification goes out to neighboring properties. They have 21 days to put in writing any opposition. Should there be opposition, then it would go before the Board of Zoning Appeals. So where the larger chunk of that amendment is in the administrative modification. The majority of the rest of the Board of Zoning Appeals changes is, as you can see, the first portion where it says pursuant to Code of Virginia. It is now referencing you to the Code of Virginia and then stating as amended so that as the state updates their code, it's less times that we would have to come back to update our ordinance to be in line with state code. So, for example, administrative modification, the encroachment does not exceed 1 1/2 linear feet. This is pretty standard across several localities nearby. It's very minimal request, and it doesn't start to hit into building code situations and issues. So following suit with several other localities nearby, 1 1/2 was a comfortable number for both staff and the building official. Such hardships not shared generally by other properties. Forcing compliance with the minimum setback and yard requirement would cause undue hardship to the homeowner. The non-compliant was done in good faith or through no fault of the property owner. It will not be detrimental use and enjoyment of the property and of other properties in the immediate vicinity. The character of the zoning district does not change by granting the variance, and it will not create an unsafe condition with respect to other properties and public streets. So with that, just an overall recap of both the amendments, requesting to increase the allowed limit for accessory buildings and codify longstanding zoning interpretations, and amending the BZA chapter to align with state code, removing special exceptions, and amending the administrative modification criteria. I'm available if you have any questions.
I think you got it covered. Let me open the public hearing. Anyone signed up? No one signed up? Any questions? Mr. Hood?
I think a simple question. Thank you. And really good job on your first presentation. Very
Thank you. I'm so nervous.
You did a great job. And no one knows you're sweating because we're all sweating. On page 5 of the document we have attached to our agenda, so not on the slides, I got a question from one of my residents about this, where it says, all occupants of the accessory residential unit must be related by blood, marriage, or adoption. What's the process for a resident to prove that? Is there a process?
It would probably be similar to how we do a family subdivision. If they have some form of documentation that shows that they're related, whether it's a birth certificate, marriage license. I mean, there's many ways to prove that, but happy to look in to make sure that we're meeting those qualifications.
Okay, thank you. And then comment besides thank you. I do not like to tell people what to do on their own property. That's a really big issue for me, but I really appreciate the hard work and diligence you all put into this to making it a lot clearer. I had surprisingly several residents reach out to me about these changes, and they all commented on how they thought they were much clearer and much more easy to understand. So I appreciate the hard work on that.
Wonderful, thank you.
Anybody else? Ms. Steers?
Yes, thank you for your presentation. So the bottom line is, if you are a true farmer by trade, you can have less stipulations of what you can put on your property. Is that right?
Yes.
And that's what all I'm about.
Yes.
I think farmers are some of the hardest working people in the world, and they don't need to have people telling them they can't buy a shed or build another shed because they've already got 3. But I love that. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I think this clears everything up a lot, and anytime we can deregulate anything, I think it's a positive. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
So, Mr. Chair, I move to adopt ordinance O-03-25.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. Any other discussion? So I can poll the members, please.
Mr. Moyer?
Aye.
Ms. Pearson?
Aye.
Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Ms. Stewart?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Motion passed. Next, elected officials reports. I'll start down there with Ms. Stewart.
Mr. Chair, not too much for the summertime, but just for the public, please stay tuned to social media and email. I'll be scheduling my next set of office hours for June, July, and August in the next 2 weeks. So, and it'll be, my goal is to have it in the Barron'sville, Eltham area. So if anyone wants to host it, also let me know.
Mr. Steers.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to let you know that there's a new business opening in Providence Forge. It's called the Old School Cider House. It used to be an old elementary school right across from Ace Hardware Store. They'll be serving all types of Virginia wine, Virginia cider, and Virginia beer. Everything has to be Virginia made. So should be open around July the 1st. Also, Mr. Hathaway and I are starting to work with the Woodhaven Shores POA group. They need some funding to help remodify their dam, which they haven't been able to find the funding. So we may be looking at doing an ad valorem tax for the citizens of Woodhaven to help fund the project on the dam. Thank you.
Ms. Pearson.
Yes, I just wanted to just raise awareness for an event that is on June 14th, the Raise the Wolf at Pine Fork Park from 11 to 2. The animal control people will be out there from other localities too. I think I read as well. So if you would like to adopt a pet or just meet a pet, come out and enjoy the day. Thank you.
Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chair, a couple things. One, I think a lot of people in my district received this postcard from Cox. I had said it was a seamless transition from cable to fiber. It's not exactly, but they're very cooperative once you get past the subcontractors. Once you contact Cox, if you have problems, they will resolve them. I got my appointment is on Wednesday to get my fiber hooked up. Hopefully I can see a big difference. Farmers Market also on the 14th. I have a sidewalk committee meeting, I call it. It's basically anybody in District 2 wants to talk with me. It's next Tuesday, the 17th at 9 o'clock at Safari Coffee. We're going to be taking a trip, members of the EDA and member of the Board of Supervisors, down to tour the Port of Virginia, down in Portsmouth, I guess in Norfolk. And it'll be interesting to see what revelations we hear about that. Also, on the 20th, some of us are going to be meeting with the Postal Service customer service people. We have some issues because of, and we'll be frank, and because of the Sandston postal thing, whatever you want to call it, distribution center, has been having problems. And I know Mr. Congressman Whitman has set up this, and this person is coming down from D.C. to meet with us. And so if you have any questions, problems about mail, let us know, and we can bring it up to them. And last but not least, I forgot to say something when Ms. Inman was up here. I think Ms. Page would be proud of her diligence with I-64 in continuing that kind of big project for big growth for New Kent. Thank you.
Well, speaking of Ms. Page, I was just talking to Ms. Watkins before the meeting, and a couple Saturdays ago, the Relay for Life was at the high school, and I was able to stop by for a few minutes. And I know Ms. Pearson was there most of the day, but sounds like they've almost raised about $50,000. So I would just like to thank everybody for their support and helping for this important cause. I know it's affected everybody's life here in this room. Somebody has been affected by cancer. Also attended graduation last Thursday. New Kent had over 260 graduates this year. This is the biggest class that they've ever graduated, and I think they had 9 graduates that were going into the military. So kind of excited about that. But I go into the trades, and some going off to college. So that was a nice event. And that is all I have. Next is staff reports, Mr. Hathaway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, I do have one item. Which involves an easement agreement that I received this morning, and I've forwarded you earlier today by email. This is an easement agreement for the provision of electrical service to the new animal shelter located on Airport Road. What it is, it's granting permission for Dominion to extend electrical service through a 15-foot easement from the road frontage of Airport Road to the new animal shelter building. Normally, I would wait for the next meeting since I just received this easement agreement today, but Dominion has shared with us that there is a window opportunity to connect service now. And if we miss that window, that could put us out a couple of more weeks as Dominion will schedule other jobs and we'll have to get back in the waiting line. So therefore, I am presenting this to you today. There is a proposed motion. There is a map on the last page of the agreement that shows the extension of how electrical service will be brought to the property.
Thank you, Mr. Hathaway. Place has got to have power. Anybody have any? I said no. Yeah. You know how Dominion can be, so I understand why Mr. Hathaway brought it to us. So anybody got any questions, concerns? None, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to authorize the county administrator to execute the proposed easement agreement with Dominion Energy in a form approved by the county attorney for the provision of electrical service to the new animal shelter located on Airport Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Steers. Ms. Watkins, poll the members, please.
Ms. Pearson?
Aye.
Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Ms. Stewart?
Aye.
Mr. Moyer?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
All right. Any other?
No, sir.
Any other board members have any other business? All right. Any appointments delegated by district? Appointments not delegated by district? Appointments to the regional boards and commissions?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Moyer.
I move to appoint Dina Pollard as the District 2 representative to the Heritage Liberty Library Board of Trustees to serve a 4-year term beginning July 1, 2024 and ending June 30th, 2029.
I move to appoint Bill Dismore as New Kent's representative to the, to the Richmond, is this right? Richmond Regional Transportation Planning Organization's Citizen Transportation Advisory Committee to complete a term ending, starting on July 1st, 2025 and ending on December 31st, 2025.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I move to appoint Danny Green as the New Kent's representative to the Board of Directors for the Span Center to serve a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2028. And this is a continuous term.
Thank you, Mr. Dismore, for filling that position. Lisa Guthrie was in that position, and her term doesn't end to the end of the year, but I was speaking with her today, and the way, according to her, the way this board works, it really starts. The new person needs to be in there July 1, is what she said. And I think, I didn't even think about the alternate, but I'm going to ask her. I'm sure she'd be the alternate to that position unless any other board members have anything, but we can do that next meeting. But thank you for stepping up. All right. Ms. Watkins, will we poll the members?
Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Ms. Stewart?
Aye.
Mr. Moyer?
Aye.
Ms. Pearson?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. All right. Our next meeting of the Board of Supervisors will be held at 6 p.m. on Monday, July 14th, 2025, and the next work session will be held at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, June 24th, 2025, both here in the boardroom of the County Administration Building. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Moyer. Ms. Watkins, poll the members.
Ms. Stewart?
Aye.
Mr. Moyer?
Aye.
Ms. Pearson? Aye. Mr. Steers? Aye. And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Have a safe drive home.